Now on the Locked On Celtics podcast, Payton Pritchard does all of the scoring while Jaylen Brown sits out. But it was Neemias Queta and Baylor Scheierman who did the dirty work in an easy win over the Kings.
Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
And welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Where does your team every day? Your team is the Boston Celtics. And I talk about them Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts like this one right here, Friday night from TD Garden. I always love when they leave the floor out so I can sit here and have a nice podcast background. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm here. I'll just back out of the way and be like, hey, look, it's the floor. That's where they just played a game and beat the Sacramento Kings 112-93. Show's free, available everywhere. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. I'm a beat writer. I cover the Celtics for Sports Illustrated's Celtics on SI. I've been covering the team for about 20 years, doing this podcast for 10, and I've written a couple of books about the team. So today we're just going to bonus podcast, so I tried to keep it a little bit shorter. Later on, I saw a lot of lessons in this game for Amari Williams, and I'm gonna cover that because I want Amari Williams to do well. I think he can be a really good player, but he has a lot of work to do. We've seen flashes of it. That's coming up later. Individual performances, including Luka Garza, Baylor, Scheierman, becoming a utility guy for the Celtics. Let's start at the top, though. Celtics built an early lead. They scored 40 points in the first quarter. Actually, could have been more. It could have scored more. They could have held the Kings to less than 25. Kings had, 10 of 12 from the free throw line. For some reason, the Celtics decided to foul three-point shooters in the first quarter, giving them a ton of shots at the line. So it was a 15-point lead after one, but it could have been a much bigger lead, which was fine because in the second quarter, the Celtics blew it open. It was a 25-6 run to end it was basically that kind of covered the last half of the second quarter. It was a 7-point game, and then next thing you know, it was a 26-point game. And that was it. It was over. Payton Pritchard did all of the scoring. He was great. 12 of 16 shooting, 29 points, 5 of 6 from three. He had 8 assists. Payton's night, it's not a surprise that Payton did well because Jaylen Brown was out. They listed it as hamstring tightness, right knee contusion. Basically, it was a night off, and those were the excuses. Although, just side note, the any hamstring thing for Jaylen Brown is always an interesting, just kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit because the hamstring has always been something over his career that has plagued him a little bit. So he's managed it well. He came out of the preseason with it kind of bothering him, and it just kind of shows up from time to time. Was it the Chicago game or the Brooklyn game where he was listed as he was on the injury report with the hamstring tightness, and then he said, I didn't have my burst. I didn't have the acceleration. It was the Brooklyn game because he was talking about getting past Claxton, who he always calls Clarkson, which I think might be intentional. But anyway, he said he didn't have his burst, and it's just something that you got to watch for with him because it just keeps popping up. But whatever, he sat out. He seems fine. He'll probably play on Sunday against the Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll see where he goes from there. But Payton Pritchard doing the work without Jaylen Brown, that's kind of something that he does. The Celtics are 3-1 now without Jaylen, and in 3 of those 4 games, Pritchard has had really good games. And then the other one, it was I forget which game it was, but it wasn't his best shooting night, but it was still okay. He still handled a lot of the scoring no matter what. He can get in there. I continue to be impressed with Payton Pritchard's ability to get into that lane, get into that paint, and operate very well against bigger players. Now, a lot of times size will bother him. It's one of my concerns if a playoff series comes up and they swarm him and can be physical with him. But against a team like the Kings that defensively is, we'll just say, not good. The Kings stink. This is a get-right team. This is their 8th loss in a row for the Kings. And the Celtics, coming off of that Hawks game, needed a little bit of a get-right game, and they got it from, thank you, Sacramento. But with Payton getting in there and doing his dribble, like he's got one of the best handles in the league. So when he gets in there and he's dribble, he finds a way to just get free, either for a bucket, turnaround jump shot, a step through for a layup, or finding Neemias Queta. And I got to fold Neemias Queta into this right away because I thought Queta was a huge reason why the Celtics won this game and were able to build an early lead, not only catching a couple of lobs early on and finishing around the rim. I people who are regular listeners know that I came into the season just really down on Neemias Queta. Like I came out of last season just, hey, he's barely playable. This is going to be a tough time. I came in thinking that this was going to be the worst front court in the league, and Queta has just grown and grown and grown. And I, consider me impressed that he continues to find little ways to improve along the way. In this one, you saw him relocating on the baseline. I really liked how it was my line of questioning for him and Payton after the game. When Payton's doing his thing, dribbling, getting into the middle of the paint, he's just finding and probing, and he moves so fast and so quick. And Queta is, he still, I don't think he like stops and starts in the quickest way possible, but he's really worked on that footwork. And I do think that he finds these little pockets. Payton says they call them windows, these little spaces where when Payton finally draws two, Nemi finds his way into a spot where Payton can throw a lob or a little dump off pass, or Derek White can throw him a lob. That has been a huge, huge development. He finds those spots, he catches the pass, and he finishes. This is not the same Queta from last season. And I know a lot of Queta fans are going to say this is who he's always been, or please don't do that, because you're taking away the credit that he deserves for the hard work to get to this spot. This is Queta figuring out, yes, more opportunity for sure, but also figuring out how to navigate in that spot with these players, how to get himself into positions to score. Every once in a while, he will kind of step out of his lane, like he did when he did a fake dribble handoff, drove down the right side of the lane, threw up a challenge, a contested layup, which Joe Mazzulla immediately said, Luka, get him out. Garza came in, Nemi came out. They were talking. I could kind of pick up a little bit of the lip reading in the conversation where Queta was basically saying that he had something, and Joe was like, you did not have it. I don't give a blank about what you saw. Like that was a very pointed discussion, but also like Joe was kind of half smiling. And afterwards, I think I saw an I love you in there and like a handshake. It's one of those, Nemi just has to play within himself and can't step out of who he is for this team. Even though he might be capable of some of those moves sometimes, it's tough sometimes. He gets a little carried away, and I'll get to Baylor Scheierman in a second. Baylor is prone to do this stuff too. You're feeling yourself, you're feeling good, and then you just do that one thing too many. It's going to be like, okay, dial it back, which is fine. I'd rather have somebody dial it back, and I'll get to Amari Williams later. I'd rather have the dial it back than try to pull it out like we're trying to do with Amari Williams. So Nemi comes in, does a great job. Screen setting, rolling, short rolling, passing. What did he have? He had a couple of assists in this game, but 10 points, 15 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. Energy was good. He's just super important. I think with the Celtics, little bit of a swoon, 6-6 in their last 12. There are a number of different reasons. Some of it is fatigue, like Tom Westerholm mentioned yesterday. Some of it is the schedule. They just pack, which goes into the fatigue. Some of it is Jaylen Brown's shot has kind of regressed a little bit, also part of the fatigue. But Nemi being sick recently has been an under discussed kind of element to this. And I'm one of the people who hasn't discussed it enough. And I think this game kind of shows how important he is to making the offense flow, how important he is to defending the rim. There were a couple of shots where, I forget who it was, but one of the Kings goes up for a floater, and then here comes Nemi, and the adjustment ends up being an air ball because you try to get it up over his hand and they miss, and you get to go the other way. And that's just not something you get with Garza on the floor. And Amari can get in there and do that from time to time, but that's not the same effect that Queta is showing. So Queta coming in, really important in this game. I thought he did a great job. It was a huge reason why the early scoring was there. Guys got open. He brought Scheierman. I think Baylor showed a little bit of everything, and Joe Mazzulla called him their new utility guy, which is interesting. I'll get to that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. This would have been a great game for you to come to because guys got going early. Crowd was great. It's super cold in here, but once the energy was flowing, you couldn't even tell. And if you had the Game Time app, it would be very easy to find your tickets, find a good seat, and get a great deal. Game Time has become a go-to app for getting tickets fast. I use it. I've used it plenty. When I'm on the road, sometimes there are sporting events in the cities that we're in, and very easy to open up the Game Time app. I see the price. What I see is what I'm going to pay on the price. If it's an arena I've never been in, I love to see the view from my seat because I don't know what their sections are. And even if I said, hey, look, that's section 143 over there behind me, you don't know what the view from that seat looks like, but Game Time will show you. And if you want a deal, use their zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time will pick the seats. So it's great for last minute options too, whether it's the NBA or anything else. You can take the guesswork out of buying these tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's code Locked On, LOCKED, Locked On for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, if you're using the web, it's GameTime.co, gametime.co, not .com, gametime.co. Today's show also brought to you by FanDuel. We are just about, 8 days away from Super Bowl Sunday. It's one last kickoff, one last chance to get in the action before the NFL season comes to a close. It's Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of the action with a special offer. So whether you're backing the Patriots, yeah, go Patriots, or boo, backing the Seahawks, whichever one you're doing, whichever one you're riding with, or if you're building a same game parlay one more time, this is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. So here's a perfect way to cap the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting if that's possible. If you're a new customer, you bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So make it count, because after the Super Bowl, football season is over. Now, when you go to FanDuel.com and get started here, you're going to be asked to set a limit, set a budget. Do that because you want to gamble responsibly. FanDuel will help you do that. Whatever your limit is, whatever your disposable income is, whatever you can afford to lose in case you get cold, that's what you should set your limit at. Go to FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You are an everydayer, and the trade deadline is here. How about a free month of the new Everydayer Club to get you ready? If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos of the trade deadline, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to group chat on Discord just for Celtics fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You also get ad-free versions of the show if you sign up by the trade deadline. That's February 5th. You can use the code DEADLINE for your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonceltics.supercast.com, lockedonceltics.supercast.com to get started. Baylor Scheierman got the start because Jaylen Brown was out. He played 31 minutes and played great. I thought he had an incredible game. Not only shooting well, which he did, 16 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3. He got 5 rebounds. He got a steal. He got an assist. I loved that steal. I don't know why I'm so fixated on this steal, but it's, I think, to me, an example of his defensive progression, because the Kings were in transition, and I don't remember exactly who the players were. This is Maxime Reynaud who was coming down, and Baylor passes him off, right? He's like to Neemias, he's like, that's your guy. I got this guy. I got the ball. But he's looking at the ball. It might have been Dennis Schroeder. I think it was Schroeder. So he's watching Schroeder. He's going up. That's his man now. But he also knows that he's passed off Reynaud to Queta. Instead of just going up, being maybe a little bit out of position, Scheierman stays kind of engaged and understands, like, wait a second, I see what's happening here. I see what Schroeder's about to do. The pass goes into Reynaud, but Baylor kind of stays in there, knocks it free. It ends up being Schroeder's turnover, but he knocks it free, gets the steal, and they start going the other way. It's an awareness thing to me. It's the understanding of, okay, yes, I have directed my teammate and I've now picked up my guy, but he understands this is not where my responsibility ends. My responsibility continues to read the play and understand what might be happening and kind of keep myself in a position where I can go out, I can stay here, and he makes the play, makes the steal. That, to me, because it's Baylor Scheierman, because he's grown to be able to make some of those plays, I just think that that's an important kind of thing to highlight for him. The hustle was great. All of that was great. He works hard. Again, like, he will sometimes step out of his body, step out of himself, just like Nimi. I think we saw that more in the last game against Atlanta, where he was just like jacking up some shots. It was like, whoa, buddy, let's dial it back just a little bit. Play within yourself, you'll be fine. And I thought Baylor did a really good job with that, bringing the energy, bringing the defense. Got to highlight Luka Garza as well. 11 points, 6 offensive rebounds. Luka has this knack, and I don't know if it's because he can't jump. It might be because he gets these offensive rebounds and finds a way to get fouled. I've never seen a player get fouled as much on putbacks as Luka Garza does. And I think it's because he can't jump. He doesn't have that big burst. And the guys going for the defensive rebounds, and he finds his way in there, and they're just slapping. He can't get out of their way. He can't just like jump past it. I don't know. It's a wild knack, but he does a great job of it. And I've said this before. I don't know where the Celtics go with the trade deadline. I don't know what happens with their center rotation. I do have questions about whether Luka is going to be a fit for next year's team. Part of what makes him the fit this year, I'm repeating myself, but if you haven't heard it before, part of what makes him a fit for this year's team is because they don't rebound well defensively, so they need somebody to go in there and rebound well offensively to make up for the difference, and that's what he's doing. I think whatever move the Celtics make at the trade deadline or next summer to maybe bring in some more rebounding help, plus the return of Jayson Tatum, who's been their best defensive rebounder, that might minimize what Garza's impact is next year, and whether they need him next year. Maybe they do need him. They might keep him around. He might be, a great third option for a center, which I would totally be on board with. I'm not advocating for him to go, but what I'm saying is, if he does, what he's doing out here, what he's proved this year, is that some team in the NBA is going to need him to do exactly what he's doing here. A team that needs offensive rebounding to kind of make up for some of the deficiencies that they have. They can use a Luka Garza. And if it's the Celtics where he extends his career, or if it's beyond the Celtics, maybe they go somewhere else. I think this year has just been such a great opportunity, and he's taken such advantage of it that this season alone, whatever happens with Luka Garza, I think this is kind of like reinvigorated his NBA career. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed that he went through that stretch of DNPs and came back and just kind of kept his head on straight. He has such a great attitude about this stuff. So it's good to see him out there doing what he does. Hugo Gonzalez played 22 minutes. This is great. I love Hugo. 1 of 8, 0 of 4 from 3, +9. 2 points, +9. He just finds a way to make a positive impact. It's whether it's like offensive rebounding, which he got a couple of those, an assist. He just finds his way into positive plays. He's good. He's just good at that stuff. Once he grows, and I'm high on Ugo Gonzalez. I think he's just gonna be a great player moving forward. Jordan Walsh, it didn't shoot well, but I thought he played well too. A couple of mistakes, but I thought he played well. Anthony Simons didn't shoot well, 6 of 16, 2 of 10, 16 points though off the bench, which is big. A lot of guys, I think, after a hot shooting first half, a lot of guys cooled off, but I don't want to mix up bad shooting with bad play. I thought they generally played well. Which brings me now to, I don't think that I'm going to go to the lessons for Amari Williams. There's not much more to say. The Celtics beat a bad Kings team. The lessons for Amari Williams exist in Luka Garza, exist in Neemias Queta, exist in Baylor Scheierman. Those 3 guys especially, I think you to say, these are the things I should do. This is the positioning, how he operated out of the dunker spot, which I think Amari, especially in the Chicago game, but he has a tendency to kind of float out of the dunker spot where he should be a little bit more on the baseline, a little bit better at relocating. He's a two-way rookie, so I'm not saying that this is a problem. It's just something he's got to work on. But the way Nimi has grown into a guy who understands where his teammates are going to be, where he needs to be on the floor, all of that stuff. The Luka Garza just kind of always keeping that attitude of, it doesn't matter what I've done before. The next time I'm on the floor, I'm going to try to maximize that. That lesson is there for Amari Williams. And then the Baylor Scheierman, which I think is the biggest one. Baylor wasn't perfect out there. He wasn't perfect by any stretch. You probably break down the film, frame by frame, like, nope, position was a little bit off there. Whatever, like, you can nitpick, but he did everything at full speed, 100%, and was trying all time. And Amari's is kind of, when he gets confused or until he's thinking out there, slow down, looks lethargic, and it may be confusing, but Baylor kind of blasts that confusion, makes hustle plays, and finds his way into spots where, like, you know what, maybe I don't know where I'm supposed to be exactly, but I'm going to do everything full speed, and whatever I'm doing it to the best. So those 3 things. Just for some reason, it struck me tonight that these are all things that Amari Williams should be kind of like looking at and saying, okay, incorporate this stuff. Nimi, his growth, his film, his development. Luka, his attitude. Baylor, his hustle. All of that stuff. I feel like I am in a basketball version of the Wizard of Oz all of a sudden. It's like somebody needs a brain, somebody needs a heart, somebody needs courage. These are the 3 things that Amari needs, and I don't know, is Joe Mazzulla is the crazy wizard behind the curtain that's going to make it all happen. I think that's a great place for me to leave this podcast. So Celtics get an easy win. Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday, early game. So I'll have a podcast after that. That's the next podcast. I get to take a day off from podcasting. That's okay, because I love doing it. I love podcasting for you. So it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. If they play on a Friday or a Saturday, I'll give you a bonus podcast like this one. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. You can watch the show on YouTube. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, I love this, because after I'm done here, I get to go like stand on the middle of the court and just kind of soak it all up, which I like to do sometimes. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Become an everydayer with me Monday through Friday. Join the Everydayer Club. $5 a month, $50 if you want to pay up front for the year. You want to get a free month, use the code DEADLINE at LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. Get a free month between now and the trade deadline. Now, next step for you. Please share the podcast. Please tell your friends, your family, everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. Here on the Locked On Podcast Network is your team every day.